to Confessions of an SEO. This is Carolyn Holzman. A lot of SEO podcasts are trying to help you get a leg up on the tactics of SEO. But here it's about how to relate as people to SEO, as practical humans, to get our heads out of the Google Webmaster Guidelines, stop seeing Google as the Wizard of Oz, where we can start to picture Google in its underwear. If you're an SEO, I get you. If you're a business owner, I also get you, but in a different way. Before I was an SEO, I was a local business owner just like you. And I hope this helps you as a business owner understand how to hold an SEO accountable, to have a better idea of what's in their bailiwick and what is in Google's. So you're not blaming your SEO for something that Google is completely responsible for. Welcome to Season 2. I think this is episode 12. After I talk about the cool stuff coming out of the Index Detector project, I'm going to share a story about what happened this week when a client pissed me off royally. So if you're a new listener, I cannot get off the Google and now Bing indexation train. Indexation of new content is a vector between SEO activity and a search engine. You know, without being able to take in new content, a search engine stops being a search engine and it's more like a directory. And in my opinion, we have enough directories. We barely have a search engine. I think that one also escaped the thought bubble. Anyway, for those loyal Confessions listeners, welcome back. Today is day 40 of the Crawl or No Crawl YouTube daily reports. And you can find them by searching for Crawl or No Crawl and then put my name at the end, Carolyn Holzman. I will start to crack into that phrase here in just a little bit, but for now, add my name to the search so you're not wasting a lot of time. These YouTube reports are short, super short, in fact, where I talk about the Google Index Detector and with the latest submission method, I should say, of submission for indexing. I went from a lousy 7% indexation now to 100% indexation rate. So the pages that are published are tests to see if Google is taking in new content and if it is rendering JavaScript. Now I am finally able to answer those questions on a regular basis. No longer hit and miss, at least for now. Subscribers to the channel will get notifications when the new video is up, and I love it when people report back on their indexation successes. I love it less when I hear from those that aren't getting 100% on their 100 or 20,000 pages, but I think that's a crawl rate limit based on what they are doing and not a knock on the indexation technique that I shared in SEO Fight Club in early March. I'll put the link in the description. Now, privacy policy pages. That's hard to say. Well, if you don't have one, get one. How's that for fascist SEO? Turn off your phone in the theater and put a privacy policy on your site. This is something that is coming out of the testing. How does that work, you ask? Well, when you read server logs and you see a Google bot taking direct aim for privacy policy pages, contact pages, and even today I saw it go for a terms of service. It tells me that they're looking for something specific. We hear a lot of smoke and mirror talk about E.A.T or E.A.T factors, expertise, authority, and trust. What if one way they can determine without human intervention or verification is trustworthiness? You know, just making sure we have these pages on our site so if people have issues, they could reach out to us might be a way for a software program to kind of check a box off. Well, you're welcome. Okay, all right, I'm going to share an experience that really had me worked up this week. I do a lot of consulting and project work because I like it. And I've had this project going on for about 2 months. This is in a niche where in order to secure a new client, the business that I'm working with has to really establish a high degree of trust with prospects. And these are usually the, let me take you out for dinner, let's go to a steakhouse type of niches. So there's a lot of friction to get through, and yet it's totally legit. And then in the end, very beneficial to clients who go with one. So the sales cycle is a long one. Occasionally they have someone who is 3 to 4 months, of serious courting will result in a new account, but it's not unheard of for it to take a whole year. So averaging out, it's about 6 to 8 months. And remember, I'm one step removed from the direct client, and the decision maker who's just past that has completely handed over the mechanics of setting up this arrangement with the person who I see as the direct client. Now, that decision maker has never been a part of any meetings, but they still make the decisions and they hold the majority control over the budget determination. So Monday afternoon, I was told that there was going to be a meeting with the direct client who wanted to discuss budget and asked if the SEO portion could be put on hold. Raise your hand if this sounds familiar. Oh my God, I was so pissed. Long selling cycle, high friction to trust ratio. And what I'm doing on this project is taking their vast amount of the content they've created that's just sort of hanging out there. And I'm turning them into a more cohesive topic clusters. That the idea is to create a path to the trust that's needed to create a conversion for them by making the content they're producing more accessible, putting the pieces together in more of a contextual arc. So a total newbie can find this information, and when they do, it's easy to understand and easy to consume. I mean, they can take it all in less than 5 minutes. And I'm ratcheting up the topic cluster of these pieces so that Google does not have to guess what they're about, but can start to know and start to make it easy for someone to find it without feeling like they're being stalked online. You can probably tell, certainly if you're a longtime listener, that I get involved in my projects. They become my children. And now someone just asked if they could stop feeding my children and push them out the door in the snow, but just for a little while. I know. I cannot help myself. SEO is never going to be just a job for me. And if I'm honest, it's really not just SEO. I have fought this part of myself for decades. I've let other people make me wrong about this or let them shame me for caring at this level. And I'm at the part of my life where I'm just not going to do that anymore. This is me. Take it or leave it. I'm ready to go all wrath of Khan on your ass if need be. And I accept that to some people, this can come across as being a real pain in the neck. On some level, business is about the money exchanged for the value. But to me, it's not the only thing. And I have to accept that I care about it. I have to accept that it's necessary for me to feel like that I can make things better. And if I can't, I'd rather turn it down. This reminds me of something, and I'm going to take us on a sidetrack, but I will bring it all back. I'm reminded of how when I was at FSU, Florida State University, I was a scholarship violist in the orchestra and the orchestra librarian. Yeah, quite a stretch, not? Okay. Now, in orchestras, for every string instrument, there are 2 people on a stand. So, for example, in the viola section, which is where I was, there was stand 1, stand 2, stand 3, and so on. And on each stand, there's an outside and an inside. And depending on which side of the cellos that viola set, the principal violist was 1 and usually on the outside, and then viola 2, and that was stand 1. And viola 3 and 4 were stand 2, and so on. There's a tradition in orchestras of things called challenges. And this is when on a stand, the lower ranked player can challenge the higher ranked player, which, if they're successful, would result in the lower rank getting promoted to the higher position, basically switching seats. The challenge was basically playing and typically be playing the most difficult passage in one of the pieces. And you'd be doing that for the conductor, and then the conductor would decide who played it best. I was going through a pretty tough semester, and I wasn't practicing as much as I should have. And my stand partner was not really a friend, but was also not an enemy. It was a very healthy rivalry. And after a week or two of rehearsals, where I felt like I just wasn't performing well enough to justify sitting in the third chair, I leaned over and said, look, there's no point in putting us both through a challenge. Would you feel okay if you just took my seat and I'll take yours and turn pages? And in the break, I went to the conductor and asked him if he had any objections. He was shocked, that somebody would give up their chair position without a challenge. But, he kept asking me, why do you want to do this? And I said, well, I just don't feel like I've earned it because I'm not practicing enough. And this way, when I do play this piece better than she can, I can challenge her back for it. You win either way. So now we're going to go back to SEO. Here I am, absolutely knocked off my feet because the direct client wants to talk about stopping the SEO effort. And I'm upset because despite all the meetings prior to the contract, despite the repeated reminders that if they started this, to get to a tipping point, it might take 4 to 6 months, and that given their long sales cycle, it would make a lot of sense to see this as a path to trust instead of something that they could track, like, selling a pair of socks and tracking that sale. I was really, at this point, I was so upset, but I was making myself wrong for caring so much. And then I realized this is something I could choose to not be in this position again. The way to best handle this, as I saw, was to sort of see, well, what would happen, right? Don't stress out before something actually happens. And if the direct client did put the SEO on hold, I would be probably of a mind to speak to the agency that had hired me to consult. And I would basically say that in order to do any more SEO contracts, I would only do it as a 6-month minimum. And if that didn't work for the agency, fine with me. And if that worked for the agency, but didn't work for any future prospects of that agency, fine with me. Either way, I was going to look out for my well-being within the values of my work system. And boy, did I feel better. And you want to know the funny part? The agency called me the next day and said, hey, they're still full steam ahead on the SEO. They just wanted to adjust the paid search budget. Well, call me Ishmael. Thank you for being a listener, and special thank you to all the sponsors of Confessions. If you can, please subscribe to Confessions wherever you listen to it. Now that I've taken over page 1, I'd actually like to see what it's like to climb up the charts. Confessions is on Audible and Spotify and Amazon Alexa. And if you haven't settled on one source for your podcast, you can just Google Confessions of an SEO. You cannot miss it. All of us stand to make more business and success together when both the SEOs and the business owners understand each other and Google better. It's been my pleasure to be your host. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you in the SERPs.